You know those dreams that you had as a kid where you could just draw a door on the wall and walk right through it? Yeah, well, Nickelodeon actually made a show about that. And then get this, they immediately forgot that it existed. Chock Zone was this deeply strange but weirdly beautiful cartoon that ran on Nickelodeon from 2002 to 2008, if you count the years that they spent pretending that it didn't exist. It follows Rudy Tabooty, yes, that's his real name, a kid who discovers a piece of magical white chalk that lets him draw literal portals to another dimension, aka the Chock Zone, a world where everything that's ever been erased comes back to life, which is terrifying. Yep, that's right, it's terrifying. Like, imagine accidentally erasing a poorly drawn horse and then having to meet it again in a dark alley about 4 years later. That's kind of the gist of the show. But instead of making it a horror series, which honestly would have worked, the show leans hard into imagination, creativity, and the consequences of your own ideas coming to life and immediately trying to kill you. Chock Zone had some of the most bizarre and inventive world building of any 2000s cartoon. The Chock Zone isn't just a blank canvas. It's kind of like if Adventure Time in Microsoft Paint had a baby and they raised it in a drawer full of school supplies. There are entire cities, deserts, oceans, and governments all made out of chalk. And every single piece of it was drawn and then forgotten by someone. That means that every monster, villain, or cursed lunch item has its own origin story, a backstory, a child with a dream, and really bad motor control. We also get a lot of recurring villains, like Scrawl, who looks like Beetlejuice if he melted, and is constantly angry that he was drawn quote-unquote wrong. And then there's Reggie Bull Nerd, which is Rudy's real-world bully who occasionally invades the Chock Zone like a Doom player that's just speedrunning up in your imagination. Also, yes, people can just follow you into the Chock Zone if they find the magic chalk, which just kind of feels a little too accessible for the average person. But yeah, you can do it, I guess. So Rudy is your classic Nickelodeon protagonist. He's got messy hair, way too much energy, and one skill that defines his personality. In this case, it's art. Snap is Rudy's chalk drawing. He's a short blue superhero cowboy with the voice of a used car salesman. And he's weirdly charismatic. Like, he absolutely sounds like he pays child support, but you still trust him. Then there's Penny, the science girl who constantly reminds Rudy that the laws of physics still apply and that maybe drawing a giant worm to fight a chalk volcano was not a good idea. Together, they all form the perfect trifecta: art, science, and a cowboy.
Hi there, I'm a cowboy! Bang, bang!
On paper, Chock Zone sounds like fun and creativity and wow, what if we could live inside of our drawings? But in practice, honestly, this show was a little bit terrifying. Entire episodes revolved around stuff like erased creatures being forgotten by their creators and spiraling into existential depression, giant machines trying to destroy Chock Zone forever so nobody can be creative again, and Rudy facing literal god-level guilt because one of his childhood drawings came back to destroy a city. At just about any moment, the entire world could be wiped out by someone cleaning their whiteboard just a bit too hard. Which kind of makes you wonder why exactly this was marketed towards kids. Also, Rudy canonically has to recharge the chalk by taking it back to the real world, which means that every time he runs out, he's basically trapped in a slowly deteriorating limbo dimension where the buildings can scream. And this was all before smartphones existed, so asking your good pal ChatGPT to help you escape was not a very viable option. Okay, so here's where things kind of get genius. Chock Zone is secretly a show about memory, like the literal act of forgetting things, ideas, mistakes, people, and what it means to bring them back. Every erased drawing is something that somebody wanted gone, but in the Chock Zone, they get a second life. They build societies, they fight for survival, and sometimes they want revenge. It's kind of like Toy Story meets Black Mirror, but disguised as a goofy Nickelodeon show with jazz music and chalk explosions. There's also something kind of poetic about the idea that every bad idea that you've ever had still exists somewhere, and it's mad that you moved on. So if this show was so creative and emotional and smart, why did Nickelodeon completely erase it from their memory? Well, Turns out Chock Zone actually finished before it even aired. The pilot was made in 1998, and the full series was mostly done by 2000. But Nick sat on it, barely aired any episode, and then killed it quietly while SpongeBob was ascending into godhood. And even when it did air, it got the worst possible time slots. Right before reruns, after school on a random Tuesday, or sometimes not at all. It's like they wanted people to forget it. Ironically. And this was the early 2000s. If your show didn't have fart jokes or extreme sports in it, you were basically doomed. At its core, Chock Zone is about kids being creative without limits, and also dealing with the fallout when their ideas get out of control, which is kind of the entire human experience. It was colorful, chaotic, and unhinged, but it also taught kids that imagination isn't just fun. It's powerful, it has consequences, and sometimes it lives in your walls. And to see cartoons that just wanted to make you laugh, Chock Zone tried to say something bigger, even if it was wrapped in chalk dust and voiced by a kid named Tabooty. So yeah, Chock Zone might have been buried under reruns and poor scheduling, but it deserves a comeback. Or at the very least, a decent box set that doesn't cost $90 on eBay. Because in a weird way, it was ahead of its time. It treated kids like they were capable of understanding abstract and surreal ideas. And it also gave us a blue cowboy with sunglasses, which is the balance that we all need. Anyway, if you remember Chock Zone, you're probably overcaffeinated and emotionally repressed. And if you don't remember it, now you do. Thanks for watching.